local.
Your friend in Central Illinois. WHOW.
Top of the morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube. It is brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. Our guest on the Zoom call today is Andrea Kocher, Director of Services with Willow Tree Missions in Piatt County. Good morning, Andrea. How are you?
Good morning, Seth. I'm great. How are you?
I'm well. How's your summer treated you? It feels like it's been forever since we've chatted.
Yeah, it has been. Summer has been crazy between personal and professional. It's been a wild ride this summer.
Well, hopefully things are on the right track for you, and we're back to cruise control in the correct lane and going the right direction, right? But
For sure.
yeah, we appreciate you making time for us as always, Andrea. And we've got a great topic today. I think we talk so much about just kind of the general things we know about domestic violence, and it's that's a conversation that's very worthy of having. But I think when we can talk about what's happening in your neck of the woods, your backyard there in Piatt County, and get a feel for what's happening on the ground, what you deal with. Not necessarily, the names and faces, but just some of the circumstances you encounter. Let's start there today. What do we know is happening in Piatt County right now, Andrea?
Yeah, so Jill and I have been kind of updating some numbers, things specifically for the end of June, just to see where we're at the 6-month point, what's going on, kind of debrief a little bit about what we're seeing. And as we started to do that, we kind of were even blown away about what we're seeing, how much we're seeing, how high our volume is. So we decided it would be beneficial to kind of show people exactly what's going on. Like you said, super locally. Some new numbers are out nationally that didn't change. I look at that as a positive. Maybe others are hoping that it gets better, but I always feel like at least if we're stagnant, we're not getting worse. Mm-hmm. And that is that it continues into this year that 1 in 3 women likely will experience a domestic violence relationship in their lifetime, and also 1 in 7 men. Wow. That decreased 2 years ago from 1 in 4 and 1 in 8. I'm excited to report that it maintained because I feel like it's a step in the right direction. Unfortunately, that's not exactly what we're seeing in So in 2023, last year, for the entire year, we served 89 families at Willow Tree Missions. So specific just to us, no other agency, no anything else, just Willow Tree Missions. So far in 2024, as of this morning, we've already helped 96 families.
Wow.
So our numbers are definitely increasing. We're feeling that. The community is feeling that. The court system is feeling that. So there's just a huge need right now.
What's going on? What do you think, or is there an underlying issue that continues to be predominant that you are noticing as you help and deal with these families and their issues?
Yeah, so we always try to take a kind of a back seat and look at what has changed, what is different, what could be leading to this. There's no way to know, but there's some things that we're assuming are contributing factors just because we know kind of what are some heavy risk factors of being the victim of DV. And one of those is the economy. People are not necessarily laid off, but aren't making enough money to make ends meet. Or the jobs that are available, there's a huge amount of jobs available, but they're not high paying jobs. So we truly believe that's a portion of it. And part of it we're hoping is education. People are learning that we are here, or that there are entities that can help, things like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so again, there's so many options on what's going on. It's hard to narrow it down.
Yeah.
But for sure, something is happening where people are at least getting to us.
Well, and I think the economic piece is probably right there. Where it's just things are so expensive. Costs are rising. Wages are not, and if you're already not making a lot of money as it is, or we talk about this as well, Andrea. domestic violence doesn't know a socioeconomic status. I mean, it's not, so it could be, maybe there's other factors involved, like maybe a substance abuse issue. We've seen those things increase in the last several years. Could be a mental health or an emotional.
We're definitely seeing both of those on our end. For sure.
Definitely. So Andrea, you've got a breakdown here of, what folks are seeking when they come to your door or they give you a call. Speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, so we thought it would be interesting to kind of lay it out for people on the reason that my phone rings or why people get in touch with me. So while this isn't exclusive to like what I do every day, the initial reason that someone calls me, kind of what their breaking point was, the reason they decided it's time to call. This is what 2024 so far has looked like. I said before that we've helped 96 families so far this year. Of that 96, 78 are new, have never called Willow Tree before. So I'm going to talk about specifically those 78 people. This is what I'm seeing. So we have helped 41 people with what we call legal advocacy. That can go a couple of different directions. That includes anyone who has called here or the courthouse wanting an order of protection against their partner. In order to qualify for an order of protection, it's a classic word of restraining order, same thing. But there has to be a connection, a familial connection of some kind. There had to have been a relationship between the two individuals at some time. We also have helped with stalking no contact orders, which is two people who are not related. While not our specialty per se, we're not going to send anybody into the courthouse or courtroom unassisted if we can help it. If you're having major issues with your neighbors to the point where you feel it's so bad you have to get the court system or law enforcement involved, if it's in our capacity to help, we want to help because it can bleed into so many other issues that we can prevent kind of moving forward. And then the third one is civil no contact orders. Also not our specialty. We try to refer those out, but they are any order that involves sexual contact.
Okay.
There's another agency, Growing Strong, who actually assists with those, but sometimes in a pinch, we just have to do what we have to do. And sometimes it's your partner who you're getting that order against. And so that kind of falls back in our wheelhouse. So ultimately, we've helped so far with 41 new orders this year in Pekin County.
I want to ask something, Andrea, because recently, and I probably shouldn't talk about this publicly, but I from a distance watched a situation unfold, and I didn't know the ins and outs, and I wasn't going to be a nosy neighbor and try to find out, but I just watched it unfold, from down the street, and so I wonder how often do you get a circumstance where maybe you have a messy breakup of two people, or a relationship is ending, and one party is willing to let it go, but the other one just is over the top about fighting or being belligerent about it. Like what do you see a lot of those types of things come to your desk at Willow Tree?
Absolutely. So speaking specific to the end of a relationship, a lot of times one party or both, who knows, are kind of grappling at the major change that's happening. It doesn't necessarily make it domestic violence. Domestic violence is very specific to being a pattern of behaviors over and over again, not kind of one single event that takes place. Okay. However, whenever a relationship ends, is a lot of times whenever someone realizes, oh, I was in a really bad situation. They looked at it as minimized the situation while they were in it. So then whenever things kind of blow up right at the end, likely what you saw unfold, they realize that it's more than just, oh, this bad relationship ended. Other times, though, people are just in the heat of the moment, expressive and maybe not the most healthy way. And it wouldn't be at all what we consider domestic violence, more of just kind of a passionate response. If it's a one-off, a one and done, not their normal behaviors.
So our orders of protection, are they exclusive to a domestic violence situation, or could those fold into other circumstances?
Nope. They are exclusive to domestic violence. So in order to get an order of protection, or in order to qualify for an order of protection, you have to be able to prove to the court system that it's been a pattern of behaviors. If there's a physical altercation one time, it isn't going to qualify for an order of protection. Now, there are other legal avenues that you can take to make sure that there isn't any contact between the two of you. That includes taking personal action to end contact. And if the other party doesn't respect that, it will then cross the line into, okay, I asked you to stop and you didn't. So an order of protection will become available.
I see.
But truly, to be an order of protection, we have to be able to prove to the court system it's a pattern of behaviors, that there is no other way to get this to stop or keep me safe other than involving the legal system.
Gotcha. I feel like we kind of took a dive into the weeds on that one, but always good information. Andrea Kocher, Director of Services for Willow Tree Missions in Piatt County, our guest on the phone today. So legal advocacy is one reason folks come to see you. I venture a guess there's probably financial and a few others. What else do we know, Andrea?
There are, yeah. Legal advocacy is for sure the biggest because people don't know what to do. In line, we'll say, of succession for this year, at least. Financial is the next one. We've helped 13 people financially. Some of that means we personally at Willow Tree have provided some financial support, or we have at least found them financial support that they're looking for. Some of the big ticket items people are calling about are needs with past due bills. As we said, the economy is in a rough spot. People have reached out to us because they just can't get ahead, and they're hoping that by getting ahead on some of these smaller bills, it will alleviate some of the stress in their household and ultimately alleviate some of the underlying DV things that are going on. We've also gotten several calls this year for people needing help with goods out of the resale shop. That can include just minor things like clothing for their kids, specifically if they're in a financial abusive situation where they're not able to come up with this funding any other way. Or also people who have left or are leaving their DV home and wanting to start out on their own, but are needing like full furnishings in order to start over. So we've helped with that this year too, so far. We've also had some first and last month rents or deposits on apartments where, again, people are ready to get out and ready to go on their own and really have the means to do so, but lack the ability to have provided any sort of savings because of the situation that they've been in. And then anything that's related to a financial abuse, it can seem so small to some, where people, we helped with the cords to a washer and dryer. If you just don't have access to your funding, but you need the items for your family, we're going to figure out a way to get it for you if we can.
Yeah, definitely. Homelessness. I can't remember if you told me about this or if Jennifer with Dove talked about it with me one time, but I remember something about like there's a certain percentage of victims, when they leave their abusers, they end up homeless. Speak to that a little bit.
I don't know that number, but I know it's high.
Okay.
Very high.
Yeah.
I need to look up that number actually. But yeah, we in Piatt County specifically have at least had phone contact with people. Nine people so far already this year who are currently homeless, who are facing eviction, who are willing to become homeless because they just want out. Or we also are experiencing a little bit of people are currently choosing to be homeless despite the fact there are resources available, because it will force them to make some other changes. If there's DV in their relationship, but they're not willing to leave their relationship, there are some housing that they don't qualify for because there's some past history, there's some legal issues that have gone on, and at that point people are just choosing that direction at this point. And we're hoping that we can continue to help make a difference for all of them.
One thing you said that just struck me was willing to be homeless just to get out of a situation. Golly, that's got to be the worst spot to be in.
That is usually where victims fall.
Wow.
If it gets to the point where they're ready to go, or they know they have to go because they are truly not safe, they will sleep in their car before they'll stay.
Wow, that's wild, man. That's something. That is something. Let's wrap that up. Wrap up this part of the conversation, Andrea. There's a few others to highlight. What else are folks coming in for Willow Tree?
Yeah, a really big one. I get a lot of this that starts out this way anyway, is people call us for education on domestic violence. A lot of times that's not necessarily the person who's living in the situation. It's family members who are seeing their loved one in a situation that they just want to help.
Mm-hmm.
So I provide a lot of information to people about how they can support their victim, or just I listen. I will just listen so that you have someone to talk to. I also get victims who do call in. They want no other services. They don't want their name written down anywhere. They just want someone to talk to. Oftentimes when that happens, I try to work in some safety planning, but sometimes it's just I provide information. Here's what you're probably experiencing. Here's what it's probably going to do next, because it follows patterns across the board. And hope that helps somebody turn the corner. I also provide a lot of information to service providers, other counseling centers, therapists, things like that, who will call me and say, so I got a client going through this. What do I need to tell them?
Wow.
Because it's not their specialty.
Mm-hmm.
I get a lot of those.
Man.
So far I've had 8 of those this year.
Man, that's that's something. All right, tell me about folks looking for emotional support and safety planning. You mentioned you try to work the safety planning into some other conversations when possible. How about that one?
Yeah, so far this year, I've had 4 people call just for this. They just want to talk about their situation. They don't want help. They don't want to do anything at this point. They just want someone to listen.
Mm-hmm.
Also, what falls in here is some long-term safety planning. Some people want out, but they want time to be able to make plans for that. For safety reasons, for financial reasons. So we do some long-term safety planning on, okay, in the next year, let's follow X, Y, Z so that 1 year from today, you feel like you can leave on your own. And we check in with each other very regularly to make sure that we're meeting those action steps and seeing what's coming next. Safety planning can take a long time.
Yeah, for sure. I guess I didn't ever think of it being a year out, a year's long plan. Wow.
At least.
Really?
Some people we can get them very quickly. Some people, every situation is so different, and we're just willing to do whatever our victims need.
Yeah. Tell us about folks looking for shelter in crisis. How about this?
Yep. So we are not considered a crisis agency. We will help someone in a crisis. We're not going to turn someone away in crisis. But we don't have crisis shelter here per se. With that said, oftentimes the police department will contact us. Something has just taken place, a crisis situation that they have responded to, and they know it's in the best interest of all parties that they be separated. So we will assist in that in the emergency. There have been situations before where it's an ongoing domestic situation. Victim is not ready to leave the relationship yet, or feels like they can't, or whatever that may be. And they may just need a night away, a night of safety. There's been some tension building. It's just best if they separate, even for a night. So we have provided respite in that. And then also we help find long-term shelter. If you are truly ready to leave, ready and willing to do whatever it takes, we have gotten people into long-term shelter so that they can start to rebuild their life that way in an anonymous, safe way. And we've done 3 of those so far this year.
Sure. Good stuff as always, Andrea. Where do folks go to contact you about maybe any of these issues that they face, or they just want to, someone to talk to and hear them? Best way to contact you.
Yeah, they can find us online at willowtreemissions.org or call me anytime at 217-762-2350.
Andrea Kocher, Director of Services with Willow Tree Missions, our guest on the phone today with Willow Tree Missions in Piatt County. More to come on the morning show.
WHOW.
Or Farm Bureau membership.
Let's check the markets now on the RFD Radio Network. I'm Jim Taylor. Corn, beans, and Chicago wheat right across the board. September corn down 3 1/4, 385 1/2. December corn down 3,402 1/4. March corn 419 1/4, down 3. August beans 1020 3/4, down 7 3/4. September beans down 8, 1006. New crop November down 7 1/4, 1019 1/2. September wheat 538 down 5 1/4. December wheat down 4 3/4, 561 3/4. August bean meal 345.40, that's down 230. August bean oil 41.72, up 85 cents. Livestock market August feeders 245.10, up 210. August live cattle 182.67, up 70 cents. August lean hogs 91.05 down 22 cents. Energy market September crude oil up $1.27.74.47. Jim Taylor on the RFD Radio
Warner
Network.
Hospital and Health Services expanded emergency room means big hospital tech, small hospital caring. When you need ER care, make it Warner Hospital and Health Services in Clinton. Find out how their expanded ER can help you by clicking their icon at DeWittDailyNews.com.
Ramey Miller from Run Deep Coaching. Take your power back. I do holistic personal and business coaching. My service is virtual, so we can visit no matter where you are. Find out more by clicking my icon at DeWittDailyNews.com. That's DeWittDailyNews.com.
Your friend in Central Illinois, WHOW.
Once again, a good morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. Again, my guest on the Zoom call today, Andrea Kocher, Willow Tree Missions in Piatt County, our guest. And Andrea, let's just give a reminder. You know, we talked about why folks are coming to Willow Tree. Let's talk about what domestic violence, most basically is and what that looks like and kind of branch out from there. How about that this morning?
Awesome. Yep, I think it's really important to remember that domestic violence is not just physical abuse. It's a pattern of behaviors that helps one person maintain power and control over another person. It can be verbal, it can be emotional, it can be psychological, financial. Physical is obviously a huge part of it, but it's not the only reason that my phone needs to be ringing. It can be so many other things. I think the number one question that people ask me is like, what can I do to help make sure this doesn't happen to my daughter or my son?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's really important for people to make connections within the community or within their families. As long as a young person feels like they have a support system, it can be one adult that is modeling positive behavior, not even necessarily positive relationship. We know that you are at an increased risk of having a DV relationship if you grew up in a DV relationship. With that said, a way to turn that tide is to just model from someone positive behavior. It goes a long way. Also, increasing people's self-esteem. If the higher your self-worth, the higher your self-esteem, the less likely you are to let someone else come in and control your decisions and your relationships.
Interesting stuff. Well, Andrea, about a minute left here with us today. What does a domestic violence situation kind of look like at its core? What are some patterns of abusers and those sorts of things? Just very quickly to wrap us up there.
Yeah, for sure. Almost always it starts as some form of emotional abuse. Again, as I said, self-esteem is the most important. So an abusive person will start to tear down a person's self-worth, self-esteem. If you feel like you can't go anywhere else because you are worthless as a person, you are more likely to endure more and more and more control by the individual who you're living with or in a relationship with, whether that be it can start as emotional and move all the way through all of the facets to the point where it does become physical.
Man, Andrea, folks, where do they go for more to talk with you, learn about what, maybe get just details on their situation and maybe they're in a domestic violence relationship and they don't realize it? How do they talk to you about that?
Sure. They can find us online at willowtreemissions.org or give me a call at 217-762-2350.
Andrea Kocher, Willow Tree Missions, our guest on the phone, or on the Zoom call, rather. Network news on the way.
The Big 1520 WA.